the biggest thing I'm focusing on now is just helping the green industry. So whether that be landscaping or irrigation or lawn mowing or anything in the green industry or just contractors, service businesses, but just helping people because, like I said before, nobody helped me through all that.
Hmm.
So if I
Hmm.
can help save people hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of not doing it my way,
Yeah.
then I'm going to have a fulfilled life. So that's what I'm focusing on now is just how do I reach as many people as possible to help them guide along the way, whether they're just starting out in business, they don't even know how to set up their insurance or their LLC and stuff like that,
Hmm.
or if they can't break $1 million, or if they're trying to go from $5 to $10 million. So there's different break points and different levels that people get stuck at, and just helping consult or go in and look at their operations and just give them different ideas of how to improve or how to create efficiencies. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm really passionate about now, because that's also going back into the original business. Like, how do we help our team members, learn as much as they can, and then hopefully create another division or a regional location that they can manage.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's all
makes
going
sense.
into the blueprints from, people hiring, retaining, rewarding, or operations, or financials, or analytics and marketing. So it's a full, well-rounded program that I'm taking these business owners through. What we're doing as a company or companies, like how can we impact as many lives as possible, even if it's from a customer perspective. Like, how can we make this person's life better so they don't have to spend time doing what they're doing and they can worry about doing stuff with their family,
Yeah.
or they don't have to worry about something not looking right or not operating right. Like, it's taken care of. This is less stress off of their plate. So the biggest thing for us is just how do we help as many people as possible? How can we transform the industry or industries
Hmm.
into a more streamlined and more profitable industry for more companies, not just us?
Hmm.
So I think just that bigger vision, that thinking of, um, how do we grow from, not 10 to 15% a year, but how do we get to 100% year over year? And
Yeah.
that by doing that is raising all of our beliefs in the company instead of just mine, right?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
everybody starts thinking, okay, how do we do this? How do we get those contracts? And then we're, even if we fall short of that 100% growth, we still might end at 30, 40, 50% year over year. But if we shot for the 10 to 15, we might only get 10.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So I think just instilling people to break them from mediocrity and, like, let's all win together. Let's get this taken care of.
Yeah.
I grew up with probably a much different background where I couldn't leave the dinner table unless all the food was gone.
I did the same thing. That was the
So
same rule in my house.
I had to see my sister, who was about 6 years older than me, go through the struggles of that and just trying to shove as much food in her mouth so she could leave the table. And then I got smart earlier on. I would just fall asleep at the table, and then I wouldn't have to finish my food. So it was um, it was a lot of different things. I mean, German background. I've got a little bit of Portuguese, a little bit of East Indian background too. So it was a lot of spiced foods. I mean, it was just a lot of food, no matter
Love it.
what. But it was good. I wouldn't change it for the world.
And today, are you? I don't know. I don't want to say this the wrong way, but would you consider yourself someone who doesn't like to waste food at all? Are you? Do you have that kind of
Yeah.
mentality?
Yep. 100%.
I,
I always have leftovers. Like,
I,
I don't want to throw them away.
I always I think that was because I was brought up the exact same way where you had to sit there until you finished your food. So I absolutely hate, even if I'm completely stuffed, I feel like I have to finish it, and I think that it goes back to those days of how we were brought up. So
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's a good way to be brought up though too, instead of honestly being hungry all the time or not recognizing that this is nourishment that you need to have.
yeah,
Right.
yep,
So
yeah,
I wouldn't change it for the world. It was a good life lesson.
exactly, exactly. So were you exposed to any type of entrepreneurialism or anything like that growing up at all, or did it?
Not for a while. I wasn't. I had some family members that on my dad's side that were,
Mhm.
but that was even after I got a little bit older to realize what they're even doing. Middle
Okay.
school, high school, to realize that they had their own business. But before that, it was just always, my dad was international banking and finance, and my mom worked for the school district. So it was not very entrepreneurial. It was more worth ethic. So
Yeah.
I saw the worth ethic and how people should be working or how to accomplish a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. When did it like kind of hit you where you said, "Hey, I want to, I want to start doing my own thing here"? Was that after you went through college or started doing, start working for other people, or what was that inspiration for
Ye-
you?
Sure, good question. The first business I ever had was, I think I was at 9 or 10 years old.
Hmm.
And that was more with a neighbor, just to sell pop and golf balls to golfers passing by. My parents live on a golf course, so we'd go golf
Okay.
ball hunting, we'd clean them up, and then we'd sell them right back to the golfers passing by. And we're making good money.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where the owner of the golf course stopped by and pretty much put a cease and desist letter in my parents' hand, saying, like, I'm taking too much business away from the pro shop and the cart girls.
That's
So
funny.
I learned that earlier on, but it was more just for fun. And then, okay, here's an extra $75 a week as a 9-year-old to do whatever you want with.
Yeah.
And then fast forward from there, it was always, the thought was always there of what can you do? What can you do? So then coming into high school is when I started just mowing lawns in the neighborhood and realizing that I can do as much business as I physically want to do, instead of an hourly type position where I
Hmm.
get paid no matter if I'm doing more work or less work than the other coworkers. I'm getting paid the exact same.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think just early on, I got that in my head, that was, it's production based, and how much do I want it? It's going to reciprocate back how much I get paid.
Yep. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And now you grew that. Was it the same landscaping company that you grew into a pretty successful?
Yes. Yep. So this is actually the 20th year since I started it. So 20 years ago, this year, I started that company, and it's been awesome. I mean, never really started growing it a lot until after college, of course, but
Mhm.
that's when we started getting into different divisions, different states of government contracting and all that stuff. But it's been a very good um, thing to start, because there's a
Mhm.
lot of owner add-on perks that go along with it. Right. So
Mhm.
I luckily don't have to touch my lawn for the last 10 years,
Yeah.
or snow
Yeah.
removal and stuff like that. So it's just small stuff like that where I can focus on being productive instead of doing lawn
Cutting
work.
the grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
No, that.
mechanical work or whatever it is.
Yep. Yep. And how did you initially start that? I mean, obviously you were making $75 a week off of your golf balls and all of that. You didn't have any of that money left over, I'm assuming, another, 10 years or 6 years later or so. How did
No,
you start
no.
that?
It was honestly just with my parents' mower, and
Okay.
then just started off doing the couple that was next door that were retired, and they had a big yard too, and they're like, well, how about you do ours for $25 a week? And then it slowly just kind of grew from there. Like, okay, now the next door neighbor from them wanted it, and then so on, so on, so on. So I used their equipment at first until the money came in, and then it was buying used equipment, buying used trucks, and
Mhm.
and then slowly just kept building from there, and was able to self fund through the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And at what point did you step back from actually doing the lawn care and the lawn maintenance and that? Was that, I'm sure that was probably many years in.
Yeah, I would say it's tough to remember that right now, but I'd probably say like 7 to 10 years after that.
Okay.
But I was always interested in something different. So maybe the mowing side of stuff was maybe 6 years after starting. But
Hmm.
then I got interested in like hardscapes. So then I would start doing that. And then sprinkler systems, and then Christmas lights. So I would
Hmm.
still learn everything. So I would be knowledgeable to train a team.
Yep.
Then once we put the people in place, then I would step away from that division, start something else, or just learn as much as I could.
Yeah, yeah. And talk a little bit about the systems that you have set up. Obviously, you're in a very, very people focused, people required business. Um, those initial hires, I'm sure probably, you're probably bang your head against the wall sometimes. But what were some of the things that you learned to be able to, sort of systematize that process so that you could, hand it off to someone else, or you could, you know, step away from that, and know that it would be done, correctly.
Yeah, it's a great thing to constantly keep in the back of your mind, because it's never perfect, right?
Hmm.
Because I think there was a point when we found that processes are what makes the business go around. So
Hmm.
what's the exact process from start to finish, or from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, for each task, for each division, for each individual in the company? So it was trying to figure out what those processes were, so we could mimic and model
Mhm.
what works really good and what doesn't work really good. And we could see that. So it was, a little bit of all of that, but it was mostly just figuring out here's the right way to do it. Now let's systemize it. Let's make it into a process. Let's create training manuals. Let's do reviews. I mean, let's have a fun culture at the same time. But before all that, it was a lot of headaches. It was a lot
Yeah.
of money,
Yeah.
right? It was going through a lot of people because we didn't know how to properly incentivize and how to motivate early on. Because I
Yeah.
never worked for a different company in that industry.
Yeah.
So for me, it was learning 1,000 ways to do it wrong first, and then figure out, okay, this works really well. Let's build on this. This doesn't work. Scrap that. So let's get this blueprint in place so that we can multiply at an exponential rate.
Yeah. Yep. And do you have a high turnover rate for your employees, would you say, or is it pretty stabilized now at this point?
I would say it's pretty stabilized. We have a lot of people return year after year because I try to keep everybody on over the winter months. So
Yeah.
we still do a lot in the winter, whether it's house renovations or Christmas lights, snow. This year was horrible for snow.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I would say there's a higher turnover for crew members or entry level
Mhm.
positions.
Mhm.
But we find out that the values don't align early on. So I would rather have a quicker turnover for that than to keep somebody in place with a very toxic attitude or doesn't want to be in the industry. And then 2 years later, you're kicking yourself in the butt for not changing that up right away.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked a little bit about the values there. Do you guys have core values set out that you um relay to everyone so that they can kind of understand, what everything's about, what the culture is about, and mindset, all that?
Yeah. So we actually just went through renovating all of our mission, vision, core values.
Mhm.
So we're waiting on those decals to get printed. We're going to post them up everywhere. But then that's what's already in our job postings. It's
Mhm.
in our recruitment. It's in our reviews. So then we can go in and say, okay, let us know which one of these you thought you needed more improvement on.
Mhm.
Which one of these did you excel at? Here's how we're going to give you a bonus or a raise based off this. You align
Mhm.
perfectly with all of this stuff.
Yeah, I
So
love it.
it is something that we have doubled down on for this year, especially that we're
Mhm.
trying to include that in everything that we do, whether it's talking to a customer, meeting a client, or a review or a new hire that's coming in from a completely different industry.
Mhm. Yeah. So you guys obviously see the importance of having, those core values set up. You said that you just went through and you did, a revamp of them all. Do you remember what it was like before you had the core values, the previous version of them, before you had any of those ones set out, and what it was like after you established those?
Well, we're still turning it over right now.
Yep.
So before it was not a clear path for what the day to day should be,
Mhm.
right? Or how to maximize your skill set in the business, whether it's results oriented or detail oriented, whatever that is. But now with that, we can use that in all of our job duties.
Mhm.
So we are currently like we have it almost 98% done, and then we're going to have a company wide meeting of just the new core values and everything. But
Yeah.
that way everybody knows where we're going, what the big vision is, what the big 10-year goal is. So we can start with that now. And because when we get there, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for every single team member.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So you're tying everybody together and, making sure that everybody understands where everyone is going, where the company is going. And like you said, what benefits them at that point. So you've done other things though, too, right? You've started other businesses and had other, you're involved in other industries as well. What are some of those ones?
Yeah, so everything kind of tied into the main lawn and landscape business.
Mhm.
So one of our other businesses was because we created a need for efficiency. So I've got a partner, which is actually our mechanic, and we create construction equipment. So it's a construction fabrication, compressors, all that stuff that made our lives easier. That
Mhm.
people started seeing it and saying, "Hey, where can I buy that? Where did you buy that? Who can I get this from?" So then we just started opening it up and found that there's a need that a lot of other companies are needing to fill as well. So that's been a very great way to help our company and other companies, affect that bottom profit to be
Mhm.
higher. And I've got my real estate broker's license. So I do real estate single family real estate, like renovations and turn them into rentals. And
Mhm.
that's what kept guys busy in the winter months when we didn't have a lot of snow or Christmas lights. So
Yep.
that fed into, we were able to use existing skills, existing tools, machinery to, create an asset fund on the side.
Mhm.
And also helping small businesses with their leases. So with my broker's license, I can help other companies, find a new building, find a new flex space. So it's more just around helping as many people and also just something that mutually benefited the main business.
Yeah,
And
that
there's
makes
some other
perfect sense.
companies too I got into that have nothing to do with my background. Like I'm in with a coffee company and a recruiting company,
Mhm.
but they wanted the operational help that I was able to provide. So I'm a partner in those as well.
Yeah, interesting. So what type of operational help would you say that those types of companies, were looking for, that you help fulfill that need?
Yeah, they were mostly from the ground up. So they weren't sure like how the leases work. They weren't sure how the equipment asset purchases were or how to systemize, their from raw material to finished material or
Mhm.
client intake to a finished sale to a bigger company.
Mhm.
So it was more of just here's the vision, here's how we can make this happen. And it's a lot of learning along the way as well. But even from what I've gone through on our financial side as well, like let's make this P&L as detailed as possible so we can see what's going where, we can budget, we can do all that stuff. Because nobody ever helped me do that in the
Yeah,
very beginning. I had to learn, like I said, 1,000 ways not to do
yeah,
financials, right? So just taking a little bit of what I've learned over the last 20 years and helping a completely new infant company to be mature,
yeah,
to reach that next level.
yeah. Makes perfect sense. And do you get involved in any of the marketing or anything like that, the advertising? Because again, obviously you had to you kept on bringing on these new business units or verticals, I guess you can say. And I'm sure that there is an element of advertising to be able to blow those up as well. Is that something that you would say is in your wheelhouse as well?
A little bit. Right now, we have in-house marketing team for the lawn and landscape company.
Hmm.
And for like my personal brand, where I consult and speak as well, I've got virtual assistants and people that aren't in my Omaha area that help
Hmm.
with the marketing because I'm not a social media person. That's the
Yeah.
last thing I want to do is scroll through social media because there's 1,000 other things I could be doing.
Yep.
So they're helping with some of those things as well. A lot of the other businesses, they have their own marketing, the ones I'm partnered with.
Hmm.
But my personal businesses, we kind of lump all of our staff into just creating the right avenues.
Hmm. Yeah, makes perfect sense. I love how like you said, everything sort of dovetailed into one another. Each business sort of parlayed into the next one. So that's absolutely the best way to be able to grow and build and leverage the assets that you already have built for another company. The construction tool company. What types of things are you making, or what types of innovations did you guys come up with for your own company that you've since turned into a sort of side business as well?
Sure. I'd say the biggest one is mobile compressor units. So
Okay.
like air compressors for irrigation companies or like for jackhammers, whatever it is. But before you had to tow behind this $20,000 machine that you're not
Yeah.
even using all the energy for sprinklers. So we're like, well, why isn't there something less than that that has the exact amount of pressure you need or air output
Yeah.
that's not on a trailer that we can just make palatable, that you can fork in the back of a truck or put it on a hitch on the back of a van and cost half the price.
Yeah.
So that's probably our number one selling unit. Um,
Interesting.
Otherwise, like carriers for the back of trucks or the back of vans that you can put equipment on, kind of like the wheelchair, the mounts you
Hmm.
see on a hitch, but
Hmm.
these are heavier duty. You can ride stuff on, they can hold a couple thousand pounds, and just all the mechanical work with that too. I mean, we've got engineers that have helped us develop all that stuff. So it's works properly as it should.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then even just
Interesting.
like flatbeds and smaller fabrication tools, mobile power units, everything that you would potentially need if you're a contractor.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So are you actually manufacturing these then too? I mean, you obviously went through, did all the engineering design, you're sourcing all the materials, manufacturing them all, and then obviously selling them That's all part of the scope of
Correct.
your spin-off company there. That's incredible. That's really
Correct. Yeah.
cool.
So we manufacture and there's some stuff we don't like the engines or the compressor unit. We don't manufacture because we want to leave that to the people that have been around for, 90
Yeah.
years. They know
Yeah.
what to do and their warranty is a long time. But the manufacturing process, it's the deconstructing and constructing it in a way that makes it mobile, put it that
Mhm.
way, and then just has the full efficiency of what contractors would need all in one unit.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. I don't know that I've ever heard of anyone who thought that way. I mean, I always thought the exact same thing. I used to have an electrical contracting company, and every now and then we'd have to, rent one of the tow behind compressors to blow a line through a really long run of pipe. And I'm like, this is stupid. Why don't we have, something smaller that, isn't tow behind? And then you went and built it. So that's incredible. Love it. Love it.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate
very,
it.
very cool. So what else are you into? What's next for you? Are well, actually you mentioned, public speaking and that side of things. What types of topics do you speak on?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I'm focusing on now is just helping the green industry. So whether
Mhm.
that be landscaping or irrigation or lawn mowing or anything in the green industry or just contractors, service businesses, but just helping people because, like I said before, nobody helped me through all that.
Mhm.
So if I
Mhm.
can help save people hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of not doing it my way,
Yeah.
then I'm going to have a fulfilled life. So that's what I'm focusing on now is just how do I reach as many people as possible to help them guide along the way, whether they're just starting out in business, they don't even know how to set up their insurance or their LLC and stuff like that,
Mhm.
or if they can't break $1 million, or if they're trying to go from $5 to $10 million. So there's different break points and different levels that people get stuck at, and just helping consult or go in and look at their operations and just give them different ideas of how to improve or how to create efficiencies. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm really passionate about now, because that's also going back into the original business. Like, how do we help our team members, learn as much as they can, and then hopefully create another division or a regional location that they can manage.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's all
makes
going
sense.
into the blueprints from, people hiring, retaining, rewarding, or operations, or financials, or analytics and marketing. So it's a full, well-rounded program that I'm taking these business owners through.
Love it. Love it. That's very cool. Talk a little bit about the blockers that companies get stuck at. Like you said, there's a blocker where people get stuck, right around the $1 million mark, and then 5 million might be the next one, 10 million might be the next one. Are those scaling issues, or are there specific things that you know typically happen at this level, and this level?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's a tough question because
Hmm.
everybody's different no matter what part of the US they're from.
Hmm.
But I would say that the toughest is probably at the very beginning when they're trying to either get out from working in the business
Hmm.
or hiring new people that aren't friends or family. So
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing is here's how we just find the right people first that are true, workers of the company, not just friends that help out every once in a while or whatever they're
Yeah.
doing. So that's probably the biggest step for what I'm seeing right now.
Yep.
And then it gets to a point where you've got a couple of crews, you've got, 5 to 10 people, and it's putting those people into managerial positions to start taking stuff off your plate, right? So to start
Hmm.
delegating and to realize when you need to hire a manager or an office position
Hmm.
or create a process. So usually that's right around that 500 to a million, when they think they can manage everything, and they should be hiring somebody to help with it because they could cover all of those salaries or all of those pay by focusing on the sales or the growth of the company or the vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then after that, it just gets into the different division or different industries. So are you purchasing in bulk? Like, are you operating and routing properly? And that's this type of stuff. Or what kind of clients are you going after? Like, what's your top 10 personas that you're trying to market to?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because the people that are spending, a couple $100s a year with you, you shouldn't be advertising to those people, but you should be going for the commercial that are paying a couple $100,000 with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then how
Sure.
do
That
you
makes perfect.
locate and find and secure those contracts?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And stepping back a few steps, you mentioned, building your team and making sure that you're hiring the right people, the right fits. Obviously, the core values are part of that equation. Do you have any other systems or tools that you use to identify, sort of raw innate talents, that they are good at whatever this particular position is, like any type of assessments or anything like that? Or is that not something that you typically will do to try to choose the person who has the strongest skill set for whatever it is that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question because everybody's different, right? And
Hmm.
some people are very good in the field and training people, but
Hmm.
you put them in front of a computer and they can't operate
Yeah.
to what you're used to. So I think it's just trying to figure out what their personal goals are, what their
Hmm.
financial goals are, their family goals, everything, and just setting up a progression chart to where they want to go. Like, here's where you
Okay.
can go in the company, but we need to get this taken care of.
Yep.
We need to get these requirements or these KPIs or this licenses taken care of to progress you to the next level.
Okay.
And it might not look like an office position. Maybe they just want to manage more production crews.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's
That
just
makes
talking
sense.
and figuring out what they really want in life. And even if it's just more money, but they want to be in the field. I mean, you can't take somebody from the field and make them an office person if they don't want to. It's
Yeah.
not going to be a good move.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that is kind of your key, is I guess getting to know the people, getting to understand what their goals are, what their expectations are, that makes perfect sense, and putting them on a path. So do you actually lay that all out, in front of them, where, this is where you ultimately want to go? In order to get there, we need, like you said, these are the KPIs you need to meet, or these are the licenses you need to get, or whatever it might be. You kind of lay that all out so that they, understand that right up front.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's even what we're going through in the interview process too. So you want to make $100,000 a year. Well, this is where you would start because you need to learn everything.
Yeah.
But to do that, you have to hit these steps. You have to be
Yeah.
able to produce this much, or you need to sell this much. Like, it's possible if you want to do it, I'll help you do it.
Yeah.
But how much do you want it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are using those, and it's different for every single position. So we're currently creating that for, office positions, marketing positions, operational positions, the
Mhm.
person that just starts out. So we're trying to loop them all together. And once you get to the top of one progression chart, maybe they go to a VP progression chart or senior level progression chart. So there's a lot that we're still finalizing on that because we haven't used that too long in the past before. So we're still revising and figuring out what's the proper processes, what should those KPI totals be, because you can't have 40 people making 80 or 100 grand. Like, you
Yeah.
still have to figure that out. What's right for your company.
Yeah. That makes sense. In your experience, we've talked a lot about processes and laying out the procedures and the steps that people follow. How do you identify situations that might not necessarily be working? I mean, is there any, I guess, red flag or bells and whistle that you can relate to everyone else, that, hey, if you start seeing this happen, or you start feeling this, or whatever it is, let us know, and we'll take a look at whatever that situation might be. Is there any type of, I guess, training that you're instilling in your staff on what to look for to identify things that might not necessarily be going correctly?
Yeah, I would say we always are open about letting us know if something's not going good for you, right?
Mhm.
If you don't like the environment you're in, or if somebody's telling you one thing and we're saying a different, let us know right away. But there's also a point where everybody's daily duties, there's got to be something that can be improved. Or is there a different machinery? Is there a different software? Is there a different process that can make your life easier, that makes the company better and takes away a little bit more stress or a little bit more time from your day in and day out work?
Yeah.
So we're always looking for those types of improvements. I mean, it could be anything. It could just be moving one thing in the warehouse from one spot to the next just to make the walking distance a fourth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're always looking for that. And every winter is usually when we go through stuff like that. It's now we can sit down, we can plan a little bit more. Here's what we maybe didn't have enough time to put in place in the season.
Yeah.
But there's always something that can be improved or to reduce a step in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. Love that. What are some of the things that you are most proud of, in your companies, or maybe just the one company? Like what are the things that you say like, wow, I can't believe, we've been able to accomplish that, or, just sort of the feathers in your caps that you've amassed over the years that sort of stand out in your mind?
I'm super proud of all of our team members because they've been with me for some of them a long time and they've seen where we've came from and where we're going. So I think that that's instilled a lot of belief in them. But also just knowing that what we're doing as a company or companies, like how can we impact as many lives as possible, even if it's from a customer perspective, like how can we make this person's life better so they don't have to spend time doing what they're doing and they can worry about doing stuff with their family.
Yeah.
Or they don't have to worry about something not looking right or not operating right. Like it's taken care of. This is less stress off of their plate. So the biggest thing for us is just how do we help as many people as possible? How can we transform the industry or industries into a more streamlined and more profitable industry for more companies, not just us? So I think just that bigger vision, that thinking of how do we grow from, not 10 to 15% a year, but how do we get to 100% year over year? And that by doing that is raising all of our beliefs in the company instead of just mine, right?
Yeah.
Then everybody starts thinking, okay, how do we do this? How do we get those contracts? And then even if we fall short of that 100% growth, we still might end at 30, 40, 50% year over year. But if we shot for the 10 to 15, we might only get 10.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So I think just instilling people to break them from mediocrity and like, let's all win together. Let's get this taken care of.
Yeah. It sounds like you've instilled a very entrepreneurial mindset, in your staff, and that, I mean, it sounds like they're always, looking to improve themselves, improve the process, the systems. You've put some big goals in front of them, and it sounds like they work pretty well as a team to reach out and strive to get those. Any thoughts on how you did that? Because I think a lot of people, a lot of owners, managers, they have those goals of instilling that type of mentality in people and, that type of work ethic in people. But I think a lot of people fall short in being able to instill that in others as well. They basically just drive them out of the company at some point. So any thoughts on how you've been able to motivate people to adopt that type of mindset and adopt that, entrepreneurial mindset and really push themselves to, excel and make the company as best as it can be?
I think it just boils down to just being present and not treating people like they're an employee. And that's why we don't really say employee much anymore. It's team members because we're all working on the same team, right? So what can we do to just be that friend, be that, because we're seeing people more than their families are. In some cases, they're with us more time. So they're part of our family. Like we don't want to treat them any lesser or look down on people because just they're part of the bigger goal, right? So we need to focus on being there, being present, truly like going out, not just staying in your office all day long, but talking to people every morning. You're talking to them at the end of the day. What's going on? How's your weekend? How's the wife? How's the kids? And just being there to let them know that you care about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know it gets tougher as you get bigger and bigger, but you can still dedicate time in your week just to talk to, 5 today, 5 tomorrow, 5 Thursday, 5 Friday.
Yeah.
Or texting them or getting donuts or whatever it is on their birthday. Make them know that let them know that you know about their birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. You show that. Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Excellent, James. This is really, really cool. I commend you on all the different success with all the different companies and like I said, rolling them all together or dovetailing them all together, which that's absolutely the way that you want to do it. If people want to learn more about you, your products, services, I mean, there's a long list of things to learn from you. So what would you say is the best way to reach out and get in touch and maybe take that next step?
Sure. If you go to my website, jamesmanske.com, jamesmanske.com. I mean, a great tool is the book Thinking Horizontally that I put out last year for any size business, whether you're just starting out or you're 25 years plus in the industry and just feeling stagnant, but just learning how to grow and change those beliefs to affect all your team members and how to change the lives in your community. Because I think that's what we all need to strive for, is how do we make everybody's lives a little bit better? How do we create good opportunities in our companies? How do we create a better community and create a better country and world? So they can get information on the website or find me on all social platforms, and I'm happy to help wherever I can.
Love it. I love it. And think horizontally. I forgot about that one. That basically it is sort of teaching that long-term outlook on your impact. Is that basically the premise behind the book?
Yeah, and it's kind of what we were just talking about throughout the podcast was what can tie into each other. Where's there a corollary that can maximize your existing staff, your skill set, your tools, your assets, that you can create another revenue stream or another division or another product in your company where a customer is already paying for it from somebody else. So how to realize that stuff, how to maximize it, bring it in-house or create another company altogether to help reach your goals.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Love it. James, this has been fantastic. I thank you for the time. And I know that you're going to do some amazing things. You probably already have it all mapped out. So, kudos to you for all the success, and wish you nothing but the best.
Appreciate it, Matt. Great talking to you.